Hey everyone, welcome to our 7th episode of Pointers with the Pros. My name's Jeff Jenkins.
I'm Kaylin Starr, and today we are sitting down again with Charles Burton, who is the owner of Most Media Blasting, and he was actually on the last episode, episode 6, so if you didn't get to see that, make sure to check that out now because we're actually going to be talking about a few things that we discussed in the previous episode. So just a little recap for you guys. Last episode, he gave us some awesome blasting techniques. He kind of described his business, what jobs he takes on, and then we got to ask him, what he really loved about our equipment, and then if there was anything he would change. Yes. And so that's what we're going to go into. Just briefly on this episode is Charles actually said that he rearranged the layout of his trailer. And so Charles specifically owns the DB500 Mobile XL. And that's really important to know because all of our trailers are kind of laid out and designed differently because they're all have different blast pot sizes and compressor sizes. So when we talk about this layout of the trailer, we're specifically talking about the DB500 Mobile XL, which is Charles's trailer. So that's really important for you guys to keep in mind. But so Charles moved things around and we really wanted to dive deeper and understand why the trailer is laid out the way it is. So Jeff and I sat down and talked with our engineer who wasn't able to join us in the studio today, unfortunately, but he gave us a ton of notes to leave for you guys. And so let's just dive right in here. Something that our engineer harped on and said was absolutely crucial when it comes to the safety of the trailers, making sure the weight distribution is right. And he mentioned the 60-40 rule. Can you kind of explain what he meant by that, what that is, and then why it's important?
Okay, so the 60-40 rule is just kind of a rule of thumb when having a trailer. You typically want a little bit more weight up front instead of in back. So you want 60% of your weight up front in the trailer and 40% of the weight in the back of the trailer.
And that's 60 towards the truck?
Yeah, towards the truck, 60 towards the truck. It's important that way. It helps the trailer ride well as it doesn't make the truck unstable when going down the road.
So when we're talking about the DB500 Mobile XL, can you kind of explain that layout? And how the 60-40 is applied to that trailer specifically.
So for that trailer specifically, we have the blast pot, the water tank, and the ADCS units up front, so that's more the 60%. And then we have a little bit open space, but also your toolboxes in the back that give you the 40%. Now right now, it's open back there to allow for media or hoses or anything, but we've taken that into account, so whenever you do add stuff, it's still going to be balanced out around that 60-40.
And I feel like that's not like with the water tank and then your media, you are having to kind of keep that in mind and balance it yourself, right? Like you can't just let your water tank get empty and then throw a bunch of media on the back, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just keep in mind, if you put something heavy in the back, you're going to have to put something heavy in the front.
Yeah, and I think that's super important for people to know, and then for them to also keep in mind that we're following the top of the line safety guidelines when we're setting these trailers up, and we really want them to last a long time, to take care of the axles and wheels when we're placing the items on the trailer. But when people start moving things around, we can't foresee what challenges may arise or what the effects of that can do to the trailer in the long run. So I think some of our customers come up with really, great ideas on how to set up their trailer that's best for their needs. Charles, I wanted to say that we really appreciated the content that you sent us as far as how you've rearranged your trailer, and something I thought that was super cool was that he had this huge rack for his blast hose. And so that's actually something that we're looking into and trying to get moving forward on the rest of our trailers. So thanks for sending that information in. We always appreciate seeing the things that you guys are doing. We just wanted to make sure that you know why we lay out the trailer the way it is, and then if you do make changes, to make sure you're following that 60-40 weight distribution. So let's move on. We had some other topics that Charles emailed us in. I know he's not in the studio with us, but we did have a conversation via email, and so that's the information I'm reading from. So Charles sent in information about pricing jobs. And this is a question we get all the time. How do I price my jobs? And so, first we want to just say that we do have generic pricing information in our academy, but Charles got really specific with how he does it. And so I want to just read you guys what has worked best for him as far as pricing jobs. So he said, pricing jobs is still a challenge. It will forever be a challenge as every surface is different, along with the coatings on that surface. I've learned over time what blasts faster and what blasts slower, but I still do the math. Get the square footage, get pictures, do a test blast if you're not sure. Tape off a few 1 square foot areas and time it. Use this formula. Square feet divided by blasting speed per minute divided by 60 equals hours. So for example, if there's 260 square feet with a test blast speed of 2 square feet per minute, 260 divided by 2 equals 130 minutes, divided by 60 is 2.1 hours. Now that I know the job based on a test blast will take 2.1 hours, I can calculate the supplies needed, media needed, and travel time. Remember, everything has a cost, and the estimate must charge everything, as it is the small stuff that gets you.
That was really good to hear, but just also keep in mind there's a lot of variables that go into pricing jobs. What kind of area you're in, what kind of industries are in your area. So it's not going to work the same for everybody, but Charles has a great starting point there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do recommend to do it by the square foot if you can. I think that's great advice for fellow blasters. I know some people choose to give a day rate or an hourly rate if the job is just a massive commercial or industrial job. So that will obviously be different and kind of depend on the job, the coding, and where you are. But Charles, thank you so much for providing us with this really detailed information and formula. I would encourage other people to try it out and just adjust as needed, see if it works for them, and go from there. But we always definitely recommend doing a test blast, especially if you're unsure of how long it's actually going to take you.
Yeah, and you never know what kind of coding you're going to encounter. So
for sure. So moving right along, I asked Charles, how do you get customers? Because that's a pretty big fear for people who've never done this before and are considering owning their own business, is how can I be sure I'm going to be successful? And so I'll read you what Charles does. He really does it all. He has a website. He has a Facebook business page. He is very active on Google. Yeah. He's encouraging his customers to leave Google reviews and post pictures. And so he said, create videos, post them to YouTube, share that YouTube video link onto your Facebook account. And then he also said, take lots and lots of pictures, post those to Google and Instagram a few times a week. And then some advice he said about Google, and I quote, Google is like the girlfriend. She needs a lot of attention or she won't put you on top of the list. And that is so true.
Yeah, that is kind of true. Yeah.
Especially when running Facebook ads or, really any marketing, you have to be active and you have to continue to push through it. Even though, just running one ad might not do anything for you. You kind of have to try different things. So what would you say to people who are kind of hesitant and are really hard workers and are great blasters but don't know anything about marketing?
Charles is right on the money. If I'm trying to go find something, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hit Google. I'm going to look up what the business name is, and then I'm going to check them out. I'm going to see, can I find a website? Can I find pictures of these guys? Can I find videos of them actually doing the work or producing the product?
Absolutely.
If I can't find any of that, I'm going to be a little hesitant. But if I can, it's going to be more likely that I'm going to use their product or use their service. So he's right on the money with trying to get out there and get traction. And same thing. The biggest thing for bringing in customers is reviews. So if you get a couple jobs, definitely ask those customers for great reviews, raving reviews, because that's really what's going to bring those customers back and bring in more customers.
Especially if you're working in residential areas, people talk.
Yeah.
A friend comes over to your house and says, oh my gosh, who did the exterior of your home? Who removed that paint off of your brick? There you go. You might have another customer. But also, you're right. If I have to pick up the phone and call someone before seeing a website or photos, I am not about it. So creating that digital footprint and getting an online presence is huge. And we do offer marketing packages that help with the digital side of things. So if you're I have no idea how to create a website, that's something we can help you with and we're happy to do. But we just want to really encourage you guys, get online, get a website, take photos. That is the biggest part of marketing and advertising your business for sure. So I love what he said about Google too. So I also asked him, what's something that he learned or that surprised him once he started his own business? He said he was surprised with how almost everything can be blasted and how versatile the market is. And that's something we kind of talked about the last episode. He really takes on any kind of job. He's not pushing himself in one area and just staying in that area. He is really open to taking on anything and everything. And then lastly, I asked him if he had any favorite cleanup and containment methods. He said plastic, and more plastic. If you need a sweep, do it smart and get a gas-powered broom. Can you talk about some different cleanup and containment methods you've seen, or just talk a little bit more about what Charles said here with the powered broom?
So, I mean, one of the most common things is plastic, because with the dustless blasting system, the water encapsulates the media and the media falls straight to the ground. So plastic is a great thing to lay down either under or around the project that you're working on, so it just goes right to the plastic, makes things easy to wrap up and get out of there with a clean job site. But there's also things like plywood to stop maybe the mist from going into places you don't want it to go, or even, well, definitely masking tape to cover up windows, or even cardboard if you want something a little bit bigger. But there's really, he nailed it on the head with talking about plastic. That's the biggest thing that will help you clean up. But there's also some really nice tools out there, kind of like the power broom. So if you're in industrial jobs, you have a huge square footage to clean up, and you don't want to be out there with just sweeping away. A power broom is an awesome tool. It can really clean up a huge square foot in no time at all. So it's a really cool device, but he did a great job with picking those out.
No, for sure. And we do get a ton of questions about cleanup, and so we just want to make sure people know there is cleanup involved. And if you are responsible for cleaning up after the job, that's definitely something that people should be aware of beforehand, so they can take that into consideration when they're pricing that job. Because cleanup takes some time afterwards, and so that's man hours and work and materials that you're going to want to account for when you're bidding a job. So thank you so much, Charles, for that advice. I think that's actually all we have time for today. But if you guys have any questions, as always, leave them in the comment section, and then visit dustlessblasting.com for more information on our products. And our academy has all this information with guides and how-to videos, so make sure to check that out as well. But we will see you next time.
Yeah, see you guys.